Welcome back to the Scaffolding Industry Podcast. Our next guest is none other than Lloyd McKenzie of NASC. Please like, subscribe and follow for more content. Lloyd McKenzie, now of NASC, and I'm going to get a bit more into the history and where you've been before that as we go through the episode. So first and foremost, thank you very much for coming down.
Thanks for having me. And like you said, it's been we've spoken about this for years.
We have.
Yeah,
We have.
absolute years.
And you know what, it could have come on a better day as well, because just to preface this, me and Lloyd have been down at Construction College Midlands down in Birmingham. So that was a 5 o'clock start for me. A bit of a rare day on the tools as well, I might add.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So we've both been hard at it today. Trek up back to Manchester, quick change. So from a 5 o'clock, it was now 9 o'clock. And we're going to try our best to be full of energy and having a brilliant conversation.
Absolutely.
Can kind of dissect. So we'll take it right the way back to your sort of beginnings in scaffolding, really. Where did it all kind of begin for you?
It began for me around about 20 years ago. A bit before that, me as a youth, I didn't really have much direction. Didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought, going out with your mates and going to the bar was, that was it to life, and try to enjoy myself as much as I possibly can. So I kind of moved away from home quite at a young age. I was around about 16, and I moved in with a girlfriend at a time, and we kind of went our kind of separate ways, and I moved away from Glasgow, and I tried to find work, and I ended up working at a call centre, and I was doing deliveries for Curry's Home Delivery, like the white
Anything
goods.
anything that sticks.
And I was
really.
like, I came to the point, I was like, I kind of need something. And I remember seeing an ad in the newspaper, and it was SGB, and it was for a yard operative. And obviously at the time, SGB as a brand meant nothing to me at that point, so I didn't know. And I thought, you know what, maybe try something a little bit different, scaffolding, in the yard. So I applied for the job, and I ended up getting it, and I was in the yard for a certain amount of time, and learning the components, having a slight understanding of how these components get put together, because we had a big massive tube moving scaffold rack, and I was like, right, okay, that's what that's for, and the fives go in there, that's a transom, and the boards kind of sit on that. So I had a little bit of an understanding, but at that point, there was no clear direction for me to kind of move on to the tools. Until one day the contracts manager said, we've got quite a big job on, do you fancy coming out and helping the lads with a kind of a punt? And I was like, yeah, why not? So I went out for the day, and went out on site, and the guys were very welcoming, and I watched what they were doing, and it was like they were building Lego, stuff that we do as a kid. It was really, really fun, but on a big scale, but it had purpose.
Yeah.
I
suppose it's all the stuff you've seen at the yard as well. You're like, oh, all right, that's what that kind of...
Yeah, of course. So it kind of all fitted together. And I remember coming home for that day, and I went, you know what? I really enjoyed that today, and I think, I want to stick at it. And when I stick at something, I go 100% with it. So I was spending, I said to the contracts manager, I says, can I do it again? He's like, absolutely. We can maybe get you on a path to become a scaffolder, part one, and all the rest of it. So that was the kind of plan that he kind of put me on. And I spent nights researching about scaffolding, because I wanted to know as much as I possibly can from the kind of resources that were available online at the time, like Scaffold Forum.
Yeah, it was a great resource, wasn't it? Yeah. I mean, I think he's still there, by the way, in some sort of incarnation, but I was very, very similar. Do you know what I mean? I wanted to, so much what you've said actually up until this point, it's like, having a little bit of a mess around with different jobs at first, starting work quite early. That was the same. And I actually did some work in call centres as well, but believe it or not, which, despite what a lot of people think about salespeople, and they are great skills. You learn to handle rejection and be told no, and get on the phone, and actually your customers aren't going to just come and land on your doorstep. You do have to go out there and get them, and I think they are great skills to learn. And then when you mentioned about the yard, you know, I was the same, started in the yard, and I mean, we've spoken about this before as well. When I got into the yard, I always wanted to be out of there from the second I got in there. And I think it's probably because I had friends in scaffolding already. For me, I was there to get out of there as quickly as possible. And, you know, it was almost a case of like you're on the subs bench, waiting for your opportunity to get out there and get it done. But for you, it sounded like you didn't maybe have that. And it was a case of, you know, if you'd have stayed in the yard, you'd have just been as good as possible at being in the yard.
I didn't know anything about scaffolding until I kind of started going out with the lads, you know, out on site. And it was like, I think what was quite inspiring for me was like the senior hands that were there. I watched how they spoke to the lads, and they really did take extra time to teach them the very fundamental skills and problems to solutions. And I thought to myself, you know, I would like to be at that point at some time to be able to pass valuable information on to other people. You know, I don't know it all. I'll learn. I like to learn. I'm still learning now, but I like to be able to take my experiences and share it with others, and it might help them. No guarantees, but at least I've done something, if you know what I mean.
And it's a case of being all in, I suppose, isn't it? If you're going to do something, you might as well do it right. And I think that's either, to a degree, it's either in your ear, isn't it? You know, some people, and I'm not digging these people out either, they're just there to turn up at work, get a wage. What struck me about you, and we'll get into sort of how the career progressed afterwards. What's always struck me about you is, you know, you hear this term quite a lot these days of A player, and certain people are A players, and it doesn't matter whether you put them in the kitchen, they're going to be the best in the kitchen. It doesn't matter whether you put them mopping the floor, the floor's going to be fucking spotless, and they're just going to find a way to get as good at whatever it is they're doing as they possibly can. And that, I've always, you know, kind of seen you like that. How do you think that's led to sort of progression? Because it sounded like it was quite a quick progression for you.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the fact that I was trying to kind of research everything that was kind of available to me resource-wise. So I necessarily didn't put much of these things into practice, but when they came at me throughout my career, I had a little bit of understanding how to deal with these kind of things, problems, solutions, how to engage with people correctly, how to get the most out of people, how to inspire people, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was the kind of path that I kind of took, and I always, if I found any gaps in, say, like procedures like RAMs and method statements and stuff like that, I was able to fill them, and kind of jump in and say, well, we're missing that, let's implement it. And it's led to kind of, maybe a part of that has led to me kind of progressing quite quickly. But I think it's just my passion for the industry. It means a lot to me, and do you know what it is? It's not the scaffolds, it's not the countries that I've worked in, it's the people. I think the people within the industry are some of the most amazing people I've ever met.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great to have. You know, this is why we started this. Honestly, this is why we set this up. It's because, you know, I'd have these conversations all the time, especially when I was working in, you know, consulting and health and safety and training. You know, sometimes you meet someone who's running a business, you're like, wow, you know, your story is fantastic, and you know, you sort of try to learn as much as you can off these people. And it's inspiring. And then, yeah, I thought, yeah, some of these conversations are so interesting. Wouldn't it be great to bring them to the world? There was never any other ulterior motive for it other than that. So when you find people who are passionate about the industry, it's, you know, it's great to be able to have a chat with them and shine a spotlight on them. So from SGB, when did it sort of move into the industrial sector for you?
I think as I was kind of researching and working my way through kind of doing domestic work, you know, I found out about the oil and gas sector and the energy sector and the kind of money that you can make in that sector. And I thought, well, maybe that's the next stage that I can work towards. So I actually got quite fortunate. I was working for another local firm who ended up getting a contract on this wireline vessel in Montrose. And this vessel kind of specialised in sending subsea tooling down to the bottom of the seabed and doing service work on the kind of wellheads and stuff like that. It's a whole new technology, But when they built this massive piece of equipment on the back of the deck, they didn't think about maintenance or getting access to the areas.
It's funny,
It was
that, isn't it? Because like it's a piece of kit to maintain something that when it was built, nobody thought about how they were going to maintain it.
Exactly.
And the actual kit itself, nobody thought how they were going to maintain that either.
But we were just there to there was a few issues with the equipment. We were just there to erect access. And once that kind of campaign finished, I remember going in on the last day and getting the day works book signed off from the client. And the client turned around and he said, "Lloyd, would you ever consider coming out with us on this vessel?" I was like, "Lads, I have no experience in the oil and gas industry. I don't have any offshore tickets. Thanks very much, but I think a shortfall on that kind of end." And they went, "Well, we'll actually put you through all your offshore tickets. We would like you to come on board with us in case we come up with these issues offshore, and we'll train you up in things like helideck and rigging. We'll put you through some rigging tickets and some deck crew so you can bank and sling the crane and stuff." And I was like, "Well, that sounds great." So they gave me an offer, and the offer was really good for somebody of my experience at the time. And I signed it, and then we ended up going out to Norway on the boat. We ended up spending most of the time fishing because we couldn't do any scaffold work when the ROVs, the remote operated vehicles, were in the water because of the umbilicals and stuff like that. So we spent most of the time fishing in the fjords.
I remember the same in Australia. You're going out to little islands to pick people up, and then you're going out to the vessel. And while you're going out to the vessel, you're watching DVDs. You're sat in the galley having something to eat, or maybe fishing off there's so many fantastic places that you can see and work, and you can access them through scaffolding. And I think a lot of people listening, watching, it's a question you probably get asked all the time: "How did you get into oil and gas?" And I think just what you've said there about when you've seen problems and holes in processes and procedures, and rather than just complain, anybody can complain. Anyone can say those ROMs aren't good enough, but it's when you go the extra mile and say, "Well, actually, I think I could probably fix that if we do this and come up with a solution." If you can solve problems for people, you go in places. So I'd always go with that. Think of what problems you can solve, and you can get into any career that you want, really.
Absolutely.
So again, you move now offshore, and even in that environment, it's still a case of, well, how can I get to the top of this? So how did your role change once you'd done your course and your tickets? And
so after that campaign kind of finished, there was a few issues with it was a startup company, and they kind of ran out of funding and stuff like that. So we were kind of dispatched, and the company kind of went into administration. And then because I've made connections with the guys that were on there, they had a job that came up in West Africa, and they went, "Lloyd, we could bring you down there because you've got your rigging tickets and stuff like that now. We can get you on this kind of project and stuff like that." And then so pretty quickly we went down there, not long after that project finished, and it was just by chance there was a scaffold project going on an asset that we were on a boat, but there was a scaffold project going on. They found out I had scaffolding tickets, and they said, "Would you be able to go on board and give the guys a little bit of help with quite a complex scaffold?" So they sent me over via Billy Pew, which is basically a net that you stand in and you hold on, and they crane you from one boat to the other.
Oh, like just a piece of cargo?
It's basically a cargo net. You chuck your bags in the middle, you kind of hold on tight, and then it takes you up and over the water.
I've never heard that before. I mean, I've heard like riding the jib. Have you ever heard that back in the day?
It's a little bit more safe than that. You've got life jackets on, but if you end up in the water, you have to disconnect, because if you go down with the block, you're drowning.
I was today years old when I figured out that was a thing. I'd never heard that before.
Yeah. So I was down there for around about 3 months, and then that project finished, and then I was kind of stuck, and I started putting my CVs into the big three, which was Cape and Salamis, Billfinger Salamis at the time, and Stork, and I ended up getting a position with Stork, just ad hoc work. I ended up on the BP Hardin at the time, and I ended up staying there for quite a bit. I just got my head down and worked, didn't complain, just got on with it really, and they ended up keep me on board. And I ended up getting a co-crew position on there.
Yeah, which is like, it's the holy grail, isn't it, in the offshore world? A lot of people sort of bounce from rig to rig, and it's like feast or famine, I suppose. Yeah, core crew's like, it's the most sought after sort.
It's you're set. You've got your routine. You know you can book holidays.
You know your roster.
You know your roster and stuff like that. You know you do get stuck on now and again with the kind of bad weather, but some of the jobs that we get to work on there, they're fantastic. Some nice complex things, stuff to make you think, and obviously you're working with the ad hoc lads that are coming through, and you're getting to constantly meet new people. And speak to people from kind of all walks of life and learning from them as well, and it's just soak it in like a kind of sponge. They've got a different way of doing things. I mean, there's more than one way to skin a cat. I'll do one thing one way, and they'll think of a better way, and it's like, oh, that's great. And it's the little tricks you to learn off the kind of the older guys as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the oil and gas is such a different sort of sector, different space from you know, the street work. I mean, I've been quite lucky in the sense that I've done the what a lot of people refer to as the transit bandit, or you know, I've done that. I've owned the business. I've worked in the commercial space. You know, the industrial, the oil and gas. I think the one thing I didn't do was offshore. So when I hear these stories about just how things get about, and you know, can you send a bag of Lloyds over to the other rig?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I've never sort of heard, or you know, but I find it absolutely fascinating. I never know, maybe one day.
Yeah.
So what happened? What kind of brought you, as they say in the offshore game, what brought you back onto the beach?
I think it was part of that kind of progression. And you know, I went limited company for a little bit of a time after I stopped working for the likes of Ultrad and Billfinger and whatnot. And I started working limited company. There's a services company that do kind of scaffolding, welding, and some other bits and pieces, and they had some kind of small scaffold projects going on, some drilling rigs, and I got a job as a scaffold foreman for one of the drilling rigs, and it was one of these things where I found gaps just in kind of procedures, and I filled the gap. You know, let's implement this. Let's maybe get a user manual for some of the generic scaffolds that we do, because we can't do the compliance sheets in the marine environment, you know, because of the map.
Yeah, and I suppose that was the time the Cape had the technical manual, didn't
it? So it's something.
And you still see that reference in Rams to this day. Like you still see as per the Cape technical manual.
Yeah. So it's just kind of little bits like that, and you know, the MD at the time, he's like, well, do you fancy maybe running the scaffold division?
What age when this is happening, by the way?
I think this must have been just maybe towards the end of COVID, the kind of end of lockdown.
So we're 51.
Wasn't that long ago, was it?
So probably like you kind of early to mid 30s, really, wasn't it?
Oh. Yeah. Round about that time. And I spent a good time there. I had some great projects in down in Teesside. A lot of local labour got booked in. A lot of guys that I've worked with in the past, we brought them on as foremen because you know, they know the guys down there. I know what their skill set is and the great work that they kind of did. It was a great project. And then we've done some other bits down in likes of Las Palmas and Brazil. With guys over there as well. I never managed to get out to Brazil, but I did get a site visit to Las Palmas.
Where's Las Palmas in? Las Palmas?
So it's Canaries. It's
Canaries.
It's one of the I'm pretty sure it is. My geography's not there. Not the best.
But I mean, yeah, these are the projects that what we're involved with. I mean, I've done bits in Malta, worked in Germany for a little bit, Australia. I saw it as like, I get to do this. Some people, it's weird when you hear some people go, oh, they're sending me, you know, I want to be in my own bed and all this kind of stuff. I'd be just dead excited. Oh, I get to go here, I get to go there. So it's good to be able to see the world.
And it's great to see when you go down to places like this, how their local scaffolders work. They were kind of right beside us, and you know, trying to get any tubing fitting in Las Palmas is very near impossible. But you know, the suppliers that I know that move mountains to get material into you know, quite strict areas in regards to. So to put an example, if you can't get some regions within the world, if you can buy that material in that country, you have to buy it from them. They won't let you import it.
I see, right.
So if you exhausted all avenues, you can bring it in from the UK essentially, as long as it's all.
But you have to demonstrate that there was no
So there's
other
all
way.
these kind of things to think of, like, well, you're tendering for work. Can you get this similar equipment in Brazil? The answer to that question was no. So we were able to ship it up, pack it up, put it in a boat, and have it kind of sailed.
And all the logistical, that part of the process was like that fell on your desk as well.
The ordering the material and getting the supplier to get the kind of commodity codes and all the certificates for it and all that. That was all kind of my end. But you have like the brokers that deal with, you know, the export brokers.
Shipping agents and whatnot.
to get it into the country, and they work quite closely to make sure you can deliver all the projects, all the material for the project. Sorry.
Oh, I mean, this is just a side of the industry that so many people never really get to see.
Absolutely, yeah.
And a kind of an interesting sort of role. So, was there anything in particular that made you want to move away from that space, or?
Not necessarily. It was again trying to progress as best as I can, and the technical authority position came up at Petrofac, and you know, I applied for that and was successful, and I really enjoyed that role because it was you became this like internal consultant where people were coming to you and going, Lloyd, we've got this issue, we've got this problem. Scaffolding's going to be involved in this problem. What do we need to do? What's the man hours on it? What's the equipment requirements? What design costs? What does that look like? What's the lead time? All these things. So you're putting all these kind of bits together and sketching up kind of concept designs, sending that concept off to a design house that we used at the time, and they would bring your kind of thoughts into reality and a concept design. So then I'll be able to know, yeah, it can be done. The calcs say it can be done. You know, the leg loads are not too much for, you know, the surface that you're building the scaffold from. So I really did enjoy that, and a part of that as well was kind of the making sure that the operatives that we had the right level of skill to kind of do the works. You know, they've got scissors cards, and we did the toolbox talks on kind of SG4, SG6, and we had like an internal trade test. And
we used to do this in Australia. We used to call it a VOC, verification of competence, but that does seem to be a big thing.
And it was very basic. It was basically based 50 questions, and some of it was oil and gas and energy sector related, but some of the questions related back to the scissors curriculum for like part 2 and advanced. And it was quite funny. Some people would say to me, Lloyd, I'm doing this quiz. Why are you asking me about roof saddles? I'm going to go work offshore. I was like, well, when this project ends, and you go and say you get a job on a timber frame site or a domestic site, and you use me as a reference, I've got, you know, I'm confident that you've been able to answer these questions, the general questions that every kind of scaffolder should be able to answer. With confidence, I can say, you know, he's got the knowledge to kind of back it up.
This is what CPD.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And like, I think a lot of the voices I hear around the sort of the industry are advocating for that, you know, to be more how CPD is delivered.
Yeah.
Because it is little and often, you know, it's a constant, but that's continuous professional development. Yeah. So really, again, and there's probably, and you know, it seems to be a theme. It's like you could take the experience that you've had in, you know, the Petrofac environment and go, well, why don't we roll this out for scissors training centres? And it's again, we just plug in those gaps.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, you now at Petrofac, everything's going swimmingly, more progression.
Yeah, I mean, the Petrofac position was really good, but there was kind of there was whispers that things weren't going so well with the organisation as a kind of whole. So I then went and was looking at other avenues and stuff like that, and then I can remember seeing a position that was came up at Laird UK.
Yeah. Sure, I almost forgot about that.
Yeah. So I applied for that and kind of got the position and, you know, left Petrofac, and then I was kind of on the road as a small medium enterprise business development manager for Laird. So my kind of focus was trying to get smaller businesses getting their hands on the kit, using the kit, and try and implement it in a way, changing their mindset from just chucking some gear on the back of the wagon and away you go, and more of a thought process. Let's plan the scope.
Yeah, with a lot of these SMEs, we got a mixed load. You just you know, an all one size fits all mixed load, and whatever we come up against when we get there, we'll sort out. You don't really have that luxury system, do you? Because there's just not the space. You
need to know 99%. You know what you need for the job. But it was good. You know, I was on the road for a little bit, and I got to go out and help the customers with builds and whatnot, and give them some advice on my past experience and stuff like that, and just kind of pass that on.
Because you're not an out and out, I know it's business development, like, and you know, people hear that and go, oh, it's just sales, isn't it? It's just a posh name for sales. But I think, I mean, with some companies, it is that, you know what I mean? The business development guy is just a sales guy.
Yeah.
But I do feel like later, you know, I forget what the 4 S's are, but supply, support.
I can't remember.
But the key one would be support, and I do think they are very supportive of the customers.
Absolutely.
You know, you might have bought kit from Lloyd, but it's not the relationship don't end there, does it?
It's like everyone that's there.
It's like, Lloyd, how do we use it? Lloyd, what's the best way to go about X, Y, and Z? You're not just there as a here's my kit, buy it, and on to the next one.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But no, it was really, really good there. But then the position came up. I was attending a regional meeting, and it was Clive that brought it up that, you know, these roles were going to be created, and there was going to be one for Scotland. And I went, right, this sounds really good. I have held in high regard the NASC guidance as part of my kind of career for a long time. If anything, it's actually kept me in positions, because it was my job to uphold compliance, essentially, for some of my positions. So I thought, this is great. What better to try and be a part of that and help companies with my experience and the help of the NASC to try and better these organisations to help them work more safe, gain more work with kind of tier 1 contractors and local authorities and kind of stuff like that. So yeah, I applied for that, and I got.
See, I've always seen it as the, you know, I've heard this on other people's videos who may remain famous, or I might name drop it, I don't know. But I've seen it on a few people's videos talking about the Premier League, and 100%, mate, that started with me, because every customer that asks about it, they're like, well, what's the benefit? And I'm like, and this was just my own perspective when I had the scaffold business, and probably even, like you saying before that, I've always working at places like Linden's. I'm not saying have it rammed down your throat, but it's like, it's always been part of your consciousness is working to NASC guidance. NASC say this, NASC say that, TG20, SG4. So any opportunity I got to engage with NASC, it was like, as soon as I started the scaffold business, I wanted us to be members. As soon as that, you know, I sold to the business partners, and it was never not going to be possible anymore, I wanted my business now, the consulting business, to be a NASC member. It's just, for me, it's the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? I want to be in that. You know, I want to be in that bracket. And so when customers ask, you know, why do we need to do this? I'm like, well, you want to separate yourself from, you know, even you guys. I remember working at Linden's, and if you walked into a boozer and there was 4 scaffolders stood there, you'd all have the chat. You'd all be like, who are you working for, boys? Blah, blah, blah. And you talk about this, money and all the rest of it. They could be on £20 a day more than you, but you felt superior. Because you worked at Linden's. Now, I'd rather be an academy player, if I'm going to give them, for Manchester United, than the fucking starting centre forward for, you know, insert club name here, you know, Accrington Stanley. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather be, you know, a bench player for United. I'd rather be an academy player for United than the top man at, you know, a much smaller club. So I totally get why you would want to go there. And I think if you look at your CV as well, you've got Layer, there, right up there, Premier League, NASC now, some of the big players in oil and gas. I totally see the attraction. I think if I was to be employed again, I think I'm probably unemployable now after. Being able to do things my own way for a good few years now. But I think I'd want to be associated with a company like NASC.
Like, like I've said before, it's something I've held in high regard, and it's been a part of my whole career, essentially. But it's like now I don't just get to be a business development manager for a single organisation. I'm a business development manager for the entire membership. It's like we're constantly, bringing in members as part of, supporting members and bringing them in as part of that role. But the main role is engaging with the clients that scaffold contractors and suppliers want to work with, and giving them that peace of mind that if they choose an NASC company, you've made the right choice, and this is the reasons why. It's not just a case of, it's the leading trade body. Here's the reasons why, and explaining that to them in a kind of conference environment, or jumping on a kind of call with in a group, and it's great. And it for me, a company that we know quite well phoned me up the other week, and he's like, Lloyd, I've not slept for 5 days. Just to let you know, we've got an NASG membership. We're going to take the lads out to the bar after work tonight to celebrate. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like there's, it just shows you how much it means to some of these people, that it's an achievement for them in their business. And to hear that story, and it's not a case of me going, oh, that's brilliant. It's like, I really do feel happy for you.
Yeah, and connected to them.
Can I come at the bar?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Do you know what? Not an invite yet, I don't think. Everyone celebrates and I never get the invite. So I think we're now, in the last 18 months, we've done, I think we've been involved with about 10 or 11 in the last 18 months, NASC audits. Some newbies, some before they engaged with us had already failed it and then engaged with us because they'd failed it. Some long established companies. I mean, could name names, do you know what I mean? Like the likes of RigTech, you'd think, and a local company, you think they're a shoo-in, do you know what I mean? Because they've got so much in place. Then you've got companies like RAS, who've been on a real journey, to get there, and they're hopefully going to be the next big members. But yeah, I mean, I've made this analogy too in the bar before. I call them my world champions. They're my world champs, you know what I mean? Like, I think anybody can train Usyk. He's already won a world title. I'm sure he's going to win. If he lost it, he'd win it again. Anyone could train Floyd Mayweather. He's a phenomenal athlete, boxer, and all the rest of it. But when you take someone from the amateurs to the title, you say the sense of pride that you get from it. It does. You're happy for him. You're genuinely happy for him. And like I say, I don't want to ever come across like I'm just an NASC fanboy or anything like that. Like, I will be as critical and openly critical about parts that I maybe think could be improved as much as anybody else. But I will tell you now, I've not seen one company go through that audit and not been a better company afterwards. More resilient, better things in place, looking after the lads better. Lads are happier once it's all been, settled, done and dusted.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's like, I'll always say to organisations that I'll maybe reached out to, like on outbound, there's like, yeah, we're not really interested in that, not at this time. I says, well, here's some guidance just now. Take it or leave it. If you implement this and don't want to become a member, it's still going to put your company in good stead.
Yeah, not lost out, yeah.
But if you come on board with us, we'll make sure that we'll do everything that we can to highlight all the great work that you do. We'll work with you. You've got our kind of technical people on call that you can ask any questions. If you get any disputes with a client about, safe systems of work and stuff like that, you've got us here. We're here for you. It's not just a expensive bit of paper that you stick up on the wall.
There's loads. There's loads, you know what I mean? And if you like, I'm like, I like to read things. I like to have some sort of guides that I can follow. Everybody sees TG20, SG4, and they see the TGs, the SGs, and then you go, do you know these PGs as well? And you go, what? Really? So yeah, these product guidances. Do you know these CGs? Oh, what's a CG? It's a contractual guidance. So all these questions that you're racking your brains. What goes into a tender? What goes into a quote? What needs to go into a set of terms and conditions? It's at your fingertips.
Yeah.
You log into your thing, it's there.
Absolutely.
And like even to writing a set of RAMs, if you're writing a document for a client, why reinvent the wheel? Just go into your library guidance documents and go, right, yeah, reference that, use that picture,
I mean, I've built nearly 2 scaffold procedures now for 2 different companies, and there's so many references to the NASC guidance.
So what I wanted to ask you, because we spoke about this a few times, what are some of the big sort of misconceptions you've heard? Because I like to do a myth busting.
Yeah.
What are some of the big misconceptions you've heard about joining the membership?
I think one of them's in regards to the scaffold rack. That it comes up quite a lot, and it's like, Lloyd, we're not going to join. We've got a scaffold rack. It's been up there for a couple of years. We've not got a design for it. It's part of the charter that any temporary structure you've got in your yard for storage must be subject to design and calcs. We're not going to dismantle that and re-erect it. It's going to take ages. Well, you don't need to dismantle it. You can get it TQ'd by your design office. Take a few dims, some pictures, get them out on site, and then give you a set of calcs for it.
Or you might have to put the old plan brace in.
Yeah, well, they tend to do that, don't they? Yeah, stick a plan brace in there.
Just in case.
Yeah. So it's not, by all means, it's definitely achievable. We do get that quite a lot. Other things, you have to be a certain size of a business to get in. That's nonsense. We don't. You could have 3 guys on the books, or you can have 300. You'll be audited exactly the same. It's all to do with working practices and working to the NASC guidance. If you can display that with a very, very short amount of staff, providing that there's the cards fully, the workforce is fully carded, and 50% of them are Part 2 or above, and you do everything, it's laid out in the charter, you'll smash it.
I actually think, and this is the big sort of play that a lot of people miss, it's easier if you're a smaller company. Like, there's less to manage. Do you know what I mean? Are all you guys inducted? Yeah, because there's 2 of them. Do you know what I mean? Are all you guys done to SG4 and TG20 refresher training? I've got to buy 2 books. You know what I mean? Or 2. The smaller, sometimes kind of the better.
There's one that seems to come up all the time, that we take a share of the company's profits, which, believe it or not, gets brought up more times than, in fact, it comes up quite a lot. Now, we don't take company's profits. It's based on.
It's how you. I guess there's a membership fee.
There's 6 categories, and it's based on the turnover from the kind of previous year, and you get put into that bracket. We don't take a share of your profit.
Yeah, I think it's just some semantics in it. Someone's putting it in a different way to make it sound worse. If you say, we're going to take some of your profits, you're like, you are like, these are mine, but like, it's a membership fee. You show me any membership organisation, any gym, any club, any that you don't have to pay kind of a subscription to. It's normal, and I think if a lot of people who are running scaffold businesses, who are maybe watching and listening, you might have a subscription to something like iAuditor. iAuditor is a fantastic app, but you need to pay per license. So, could you say that they're taking some of your profits? Well, you'll have more profits if you don't do it. Yeah, but you'll also have a worse business, more than likely.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's just how you kind of frame it. One that I get quite a lot, and I know this used to be the case, is a lot of people said, no, we don't want to join because somebody from a local company who's a NASC member comes out with the auditor and says whether you can get in or not. You have to have, yeah.
We have compliance officers in NASC that are made up of some are staff, some are third party, and these individuals are experts in the field. They came from all different parts of the sector, whether it be training or they've been a technical authority in the past. Health and safety, scaffold specific health and safety individuals, and they have a strict kind of charter to follow. It's not a case of, does your face fit? You know, he's all right, he's my mate, I know him, I've worked in the tools with him. It's a very strict kind of process that gets kind of adhered to. And that sits completely separate from us. We don't engage with the compliance officers unless we're bumping them at a regional meeting or a health and safety event. We don't discuss anything that's kind of going on. We sit quite separate from the membership services team as well, which do the kind of internal desktop audit kind of stuff, the first part of the kind of the verification before the site audits and stuff like that. But there is no one, there's no NASC contractor or supplier business owners that are compliance officers. We may have some that do scissors work and stuff like that. Yeah.
So another critique they hear quite a lot is, well, you know, you wear the old boys club sort of thing, and that, you know, the existing membership don't want people in. I also hear from the existing membership that, I love this one as well, you'll have heard it, they're letting anyone in now. They're letting anyone in now. You've heard that? I've heard that from loads of existing members. Oh, they're letting anyone in. Everyone passes.
No,
They don't.
No, they definitely
Because
don't.
people have come to me because they failed.
Yeah. I mean, we have full view of kind of registration of interests for NASC that it's kind of laid out. We get probably about between 3 and 4 registration of interest a day, which is, you know, it's increased since, you know, within the last kind of 18 months, and you get to see them rejected, you know.
And it's like, yeah, we're letting more people in because more people are applying. And if people apply and they meet the standard, what do you want us to do? Like,
and if they don't get past that stage, they don't get an audit, they don't get a site visit and stuff like that. They give us some very basic information about their company and their scissors card ratios, which is the most important, because we need to be able, when I go and speak to, say, a tier 1 contractor and they've invited me in to their business to do a talk on scaffold compliance or say something like that, I need to be able to say, if you use an NASC member, you're getting a fully carded workforce on your site. There's no one that's going to, you know, Joe that's got 20 years experience and he's not getting any cards, he's not getting any training. So that's why that's super important. And obviously the company's been trading for a minimum of 2 years as well, for that kind of commercial outlook on it.
And reassurance.
And reassurance, yeah, absolutely.
Because, I mean, if you're in procurement, you're I'm going to say, let's say a BAM or a Kia's or, you know, one of these tier 1s, a Windic maybe. You're trying to indemnify yourself from a level of risk. And if you know that everybody's met the same kind of standard or had to achieve the same standard as part of the audit, you've got that level of assurance that, and like we said about the 2 years from a commercial, they're not just going to go bang. They've got a bit of trading history.
That's it.
They're not funded on money that they've got somewhere they shouldn't have got it from, and it's kind of all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Funny, I had a customer a few weeks ago asked us to do an emergency inspection, and the site was really bad. I very rarely do I come away from an audit angry, but this one, it was on a school. Toll boards falling off, could have hit children and stuff, like really, really bad. And so I said, well, what does procurement look like at your place? Oh, well, we make sure they've got an accreditation, and they name the accreditation. I won't name them, but you know, we've got this. The scaffold company had that, and they've. I said, well, what else? And they went, well, they've been trading for 25 years. So I said, and I'm not digging you out on this. I said, but 25 years. You could be cheating on your wife for 25 years and not get caught. Do you know what I mean? Just because they've been going for that long doesn't necessarily mean they've done nothing wrong. And I said, the other thing is, the accreditation that they've got, you know, I could start a scaffold company tomorrow and I could have that accreditation by the end of the week. I said, what do we go with then? So, you know, for me, I would say it has to be NASC, because nothing else is giving you that same level of assurance. Someone's been to the yard, they've made sure that they've got a stock quality control process, they've made sure the materials are in good order, they've made sure there's, you know, some means of procuring the materials from the right place, so they're not just buying off the back of a boat or stolen materials. Cost assessments, the lads are going to turn up to site fit and well, they've not been exposed to hazards that they shouldn't have been. when the lads get there, as you said, they're carded, they're competent, they've got all the right systems, processes, RAMs, everything. And it's been assessed by someone who knows what they're looking at, not someone who's sat on the end of a portal in God knows where going, have you got a set of RAMs? Yes, you have. Could have anything in them. But you know, there you go. There's your rubber stamp. You got your accreditation and you can go tender for work. And I think to a lot of the scaffold contractors out there, who, you know, you try to make the value case for them. It's like, well, the stuff that you're moaning about, as in anybody being able to quote for the same work as you, and you're putting all this investment into compliance and harnessing steps and all the rest of it, and your competitor down the road's not doing it, it puts that floor underneath them. You know, so like, they can't, unless they're willing to meet the same standard you have and prove it, you now don't have to compete against them. You know, so many advantages to joining. But a lot of myths as well that I hear out there. A lot of, you know, most of them do centre around the yard as well.
I mean, there is loads, but we've got the full team at NASC. You can ask them at any time. You know, we've got 3 guys on the, myself included, on the business development team. Phil in the south, James in the Midlands, and I look after Northern England, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. Just email us if you're wanting to know what it takes to become an NASC member. We'll help you no matter what stage you're at. Even if you've only been trading 5 minutes, we'll still give you everything that you need to work towards that. You know, it's a journey. It's not.
It's like the old saying, isn't it, about when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago, but the second best time is now. Like, so
implement this stuff now, and then when that 2 years passes, you can hit the button, and we'll be there.
Do you know the funny things I hear about the yard, just before we move on from it, is like, you know, all these, like, you got to be this, got to be that. I'm like, well, like, put yourself in the shoes of, you know, like a principal contractor, or you sent your lads out to a site, maybe it's a BAM site or whoever. I've mentioned them a couple of times now, but what would you expect to be on that site? Would you expect an induction? If you just let your lads on site without an induction, you'd be like, hang about. So you'd want to induct them to a consistent standard. You'd want them to have welfare facilities on that site, you know, somewhere to eat, somewhere to dry the clothes, clean toilets and washing facilities and all the rest of it. You'd probably expect, you know, if there were structures on that site, they'd go up to a design or a compliance sheet, designs for your racks. If they were using chemicals, you'd expect them to be risk assessed, cost assessments and that sort of stuff. So if you'd expect that from your client, where you're sending those guys, why would your yard not look like that? And it's the same thing, keeping people out of the way of traffic, making sure you've got proper signage in place, the health and safety work app poster on the wall.
It's the same best practice out on site, that it needs to be exactly the same at the very foundation of your business, which is in the yard, in the depot. You know, it's no different. You know, the rules don't change. You know,
and it's the yard. When we've both had the experience of working in one, it's heartbeat of the business.
Absolutely.
So what's next on the agenda for this year? We've got a couple of events coming up.
Yeah, I mean, we've got SCAFX 26, which is shaping up really good.
And the AGM just before.
And the AGM.
Hopefully we get this out before the AGM. I think we could, the AGM's next week. Is it the week after? 24th. So 24th of June. You can hold me to that now. You know, have this out before then.
Absolutely. But SCAFX is 35% bigger than it was last year. We've got some.
What a slogan! It's like something you see at the Snickers, isn't it?
It's the exhibitors. We've got this majority of the same exhibitors back for this year, and we've got some new kind of features. And it's we've really worked well with. We've really looked at it, and we've reached out to you know, from my experience, what would I like to see as a scaffolder at SCAFX? So we've got services and solutions that are kind of exhibiting. That'll kind of put your business in good stead, a good complement to other things that's kind of going on out there in the industry, software, payroll services, some new innovation products that are coming out in the market in the kind of composite plastic kind of area. So you get to see stuff like that. But it's shaping up quite good. It's we've got some good features this year. I don't want to give too much away.
No, I kind of. I've got some inside intel now. I'll keep my mouth shut about all that stuff as well. But from what I'm hearing, you know, it's really shaping up to be an unbelievable event as always. And then to follow it, we've obviously got what used to be called the Balling Awards, but it's no longer.
The Scaffolding Excellence Awards. Yeah. There's some good categories this year. The entries are, well, at this time are still kind of coming in. That's all, the Excellence Awards for kind of large, medium project of the year. That's all.
Do we still do Lifetime Achievement, by the way?
I'm unsure. I don't think it's for this year.
Right. So I'm going to throw this to the camera now because I want everyone in the industry to get behind it. George Roberts must win the Scaffolding, the Scaffolding Excellence Awards. He must win the Lifetime Achievement Award. If you think about how many businesses that guy has been, helped to start and the support that he's given to people, known throughout the industry, throughout the world, George Roberts. So that's my recommendation. Everyone else, get behind it.
But it's these are all audited, not audited. These are all kind of there's
a process.
There's a separate panel. I don't even know who they are. Half the people at the NASC don't know who they are. It's no input from us. So it's all done above board, and all the kind of entries are hopefully going to come in. It's shaping up to be another good Excellence Awards.
And there should be some tribute as well, we should say, to the former president. Unfortunately, someone we lost around Christmas time. Wayne.
Yeah, that's right. So the apprenticeship, the Apprentice of the Year, will be in honour of Wayne Connolly this year, and that will carry through for many years to come as well.
I hope so, because the Manchester connection and all the rest of it. Legacy, do you know what I mean? That hopefully Scaffex and the Wake Rollers will be the lasting legacy, amongst other things, of Wayne. Great bloke.
Absolutely.
Lloyd, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a fascinating conversation. Yeah. Would you believe, by the way, that we've spent 2 hours in the car together already, and it just never stops, does it?
We should have put the camera up on the dash and just done it there.
But we've only gone over 2 hours
on the road with Isaac and Lloyd.
Yeah. There you go, like Max and Paddy of the scaffolding world. Yeah, but I'm sure it'll be the first of many. We'll get some more content filmed.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Come on. We're out of here.